My name is Teresa Lockwood. I reside in Vineland, New Jersey. I'm going to be recording my abuser as they're manipulating the whole negative, positive labels. And their defenses for all these things are completely just illogical. This is a thing. This false minister, my persecutor, who wants to rant off about motive. This is the thing. This is what I told a police officer in Internal Affairs in Vineland, New Jersey, just like about a couple weeks ago or something. Okay, as he continuously like slanders me, gaslights me, mentally abuses me, or what have you. And yes, I go off on him and hit him hard, with truth, of course. So, they actually get each other to actually, because I spoke against their crime, to actually abuse me. So for about 20 years, I have basically been abused and slandered by this cult of the formerly known as Violent First Church of the Nazarene, now calling themselves Ramoth Church. So this is my persecutor, William Clement, just like get him on there.
In your mind for you to give definition to something in the world or some person in the world.
Okay. So I'm about to record this. I just wrote, actually I should go to it. Hold on. I just wrote a piece. It was actually very, just very hard. I mean, I wrote on it before, because there's a lot of, slander of victims, trying to use the term negative to brand victims to stimulate them to make sure they're not heard, as was done to me, even in a court by Vineland, New Jersey police and prosecutors, using these false witnesses that actually attacked me for basically speaking against abuse and abuse by this church, and being a victim of domestic violence and the court's abuse, and persecuting and targeting me. I didn't use those words, but I was just descriptive of the things that was going on. So the thing is they try to brand me as negative for speaking against domestic violence. So I'm actually just going to record this real quick. This is, actually I can just go to my other page. I'm just going to record it from my police page, but I decided not to. So I just shared this from Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. And I'm just going to record this real quick. I don't know if I can, hold on. I don't know if I can get it all on there. Okay, I'm trying to see it. I could put my phone around, but when I try to do that, it cuts off. Okay. Okay. So it's a cover-up of biases, and so I've actually recorded other things about like negativity, and this is the thing. I actually first started hearing about it when I reached out for help from being a victim of domestic violence and abused by the system, and actually locked up for being a victim of domestic violence. Not for any wrong that I did, but for crying. Okay. And the thing is, they were trying, when I spoke against abuse, they were always constantly trying to cut me off and damning my statements and controlling what I say and trying to brand me speaking against domestic violence and abuse as negativity, okay? As they promoted this positivism. It's really sickening, and what they're doing is branding emotions, by the way, of like anger and sad, and while this guy does it or whatever, as negative emotions. Okay, so this pastor is doing it. So I just he is my persecutor, and I was actually bullied and abused by them. And of course, they use the obvious branding technique used by abusive people, calling their victims mentally ill, and bullied me, saying I wasn't welcome in their church because I did not agree with their evil, false doctrines, which a lot of them were actually pedophile brainwashing that is actually against Christianity, as they are also promoting the false doctrines of the Psychiatric Association. I just want to let you know the Psychiatric Association colluded with abusive cults to basically target victims of abuse or anybody who spoke up out against injustices and oppression by abusers. So the thing is I'm trying to reopen this window. Oh, I lost it. I have several ones open. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Nope, that's that one. Did I close it out? Okay. So the thing is I was damned for my intelligence. So they basically come up with or found these doctrines condemning intelligence as arrogance. Yeah. So they also are. He's coming up with all these things or getting them from somewhere. I try to look up some of them. I'm not going to look up every false doctrine he teaches. It's just really exhausting. So then, okay, so I'm going to go on. So, he was actually condemning the mind and intellect, even though when this happened before, when I was in their church, they didn't use the word intellect, but they were condemning my mind, claiming it's not about the mind, it's about the heart, trying to make them appear as these loving people. As anytime I spoke true knowledge and enlightened them about things, that they were just speaking all these abusive, false knowledge. So the thing is, I was very submitting and humbly meek, and I was actually just terrified. Of course, they're trying to condemn fear and all this other stuff or whatever. They twist our Bible. The thing is that excuse me. I have I want to do that on video. I have I don't know, something on my chapped lip or something. So the thing is, yeah, after I was basically condemned and they played this game with the mind, I basically said, well, the Lord taught the law where it says, love the Lord God with all your mind. Actually, Old Testament says strength. I think it's strength in actually Luke also is how it records. But the teacher who was mentally abusing me and attacking my mind for teaching, be mindful of the things of God, they were actually claimed to be teaching from Luke for 4 years and basically spoke all these things that was against the book that they claimed to be teaching. So it was really, really I was just confused. It wasn't my confusion, it's their confusion. I was just like, and I basically gave a view, and they spoke with these things that are opposite to it, and I would teach what was in it, and then they attacked me and slandered me and abused me for it. I was very kind to them. So the thing is, I basically suffer a lot of trauma. They're basically vilifying me for basically suffering trauma, claiming I'm not of God because I suffered trauma from their abuse. So I didn't practice evil against them. They practiced evil against me. So, this pastor, William Clay, goes behind his pulpit. They actually make sure they manipulate the whole, circumstances in this, auditorium-like type place or whatever where they sit and do this. And called me, told me to renew my mind. I read him back and said I renew my mind every day. So it wasn't really, I don't know what he was referring to, but they were always trying to pick fights with me and bully me, and it's the same abuse, manipulation tactics that I get from a majority of people online, especially in groups when they have things against claimed Christianity or whatever, and versus atheist Islam or whatever, and all these things or whatever. But they're all the same abusive. No, I actually don't. I don't actually. I will not. They copy the same manipulative abuses. It's disturbing. The thing is, I have never used any of their manipulative, deceptive tactics against any of my abusers or anything like that or whatever. I refuse to practice or play their devil's game, so I will not. So anyway, the thing is I did not experience them using the word negative to brand me while I was in this church. Um, I did not hear that. So, I heard it in outreach. Well, basically, who people I was like, as a system that I was trapped in for basically reaching out for being a victim of domestic violence. It was very oppressive and abusive towards victims. So, I reached out and helped for this church, and I was basically slandered for it. So, the thing is that, okay, so, yeah, so I, well, the outreach was not of this church, but while it wasn't, it was a forced outreach thing or whatever, against my will because I was being abused by police. So I reached out and basically trying to ask for help, and nobody can hear me. And they're all brainwashed to sit there and just brand people as negative if abusers want to get rid of their victim. And the whole system is built to silence victims. So they attack people who cry, who are sad, sorrow, whatever. So the thing is, I watched a video after this, and apparently they displaying these emotions that they're actually faking it. I actually find that to be very irreligious to do that. I believe emotions are sacred. Yes, there can be, this is why I say sanctify your mind, sanctify your emotions, because people can, emotions are natural, but people, can use your sin like through their emotions. So the emotion is always natural. So the thing is that, designed by God. And I was condemned for emotions, by the way. So I was basically called a demon for basically crying for being mentally abused. Okay. So, and attacked for being abused. So it's really, really disturbing. So, the thing is that, okay, I'm going to go on. I'm just going to record this. All right. And, let me just make sure. Okay. So he made a statement, and there was very manipulative. Also, the thing is, I first experienced it with Lee King when he was abusing me, manipulating things, and they would make up things about you. So I'm going to use a demonstration with him. He's like, "Are you accusing me of teaching psychology from my pulpit?" And I was actually confused by his statement. I was actually getting mixed signals when he made that statement, because they were going around falsely accusing me and slandering me, and then if I would confront it or speak against it, they would go around sitting there saying Satan is our accuser. Now, he's already displayed that in his sermons. And the thing is, it has nothing to do with people sitting there speaking against your abuser or whatever. But they were actually calling me Satan for speaking against their evil abuses to me. So they were falsely accusing me, and this is how they abuse and pervert the Bible. So, the thing is, when he said it, it was a little different. I connected that with his statement of provoking a, he displays his things that he's like knows people's minds and like, what they're thinking and all these other things, and makes up all these things, as it's very common among many of the people who are bullying me and abusing me, and a main problem, where they make up your thoughts that I wasn't thinking, not even close. I usually express it. I didn't speak very much, so, but I pretty much expressed it. Like, I mean, I encountered something, I said, what I was thinking, and I'm like, no, or, you know, or give my view of something or whatever, when they got very, like, defensive. I'm not speaking against defensive. I get defensive when I'm being slandered. I'm going to defend the word of God um, and the truth, so they can correct their minds, but they refuse to do that. They were unrepentant people. They were so prideful and arrogant. They just wanted to sit there and, like, want to be right when they don't want to be right. They just want to sound right to say they're ignorant instead of actually wanting to be right. So this guy sits there and he said to me in a later time, "Oh, you always want to be right," and it was like a conflict between their false version of deceptive wanting to appear right instead of wanting to be right. And the thing is there was a cross line between the things that he said and other people say. It was hard to discern what was going on, because he would manipulate and have his hand in manipulating people and setting up these things or whatever. I'm going to record something else in relation to that in another video. But he puppets people, props people, and does all these things. So, and I'll explain that in another video, so I got to make this shorter. So the thing is, he made a statement and said, are you accusing me of teaching or preaching psychology from behind my pulpit? And the strangest thing is that my first thought was this false minister Tammy Vaughn, who was presenting this, like, psychiatric association, false knowledge, playing counselor, doing all these things, or displaying herself as one. That was actually my first thought. And of course I had, like, a distant thought of just a reflection of it. I'm not saying that's what he thought. It's just kind of like he deliberately triggers people's minds deliberately of thinking. Like, some things is like, I mean, he can know what people's thinking if they say things, you know, if they express things. But he knows what was going in there, and where he stood and all that, I got confused sometimes, because it was just like he tries to expose people's evil, like he knows what they did. Sometimes it seemed like he was confused of where the truth was, and because he knows the manipulation, but he manipulates and deceives, but he's a little off, different, but he tries to take control of all the situation and is just as whacked out as the rest of them. That's what, you know, whatever. So, I basically don't, I ask people, like, what they mean by that. Of course, they mock that, because I'm like, I did it in class, like, can you emphasize more on that or whatever? Because, you know, people talk, and I can connect an idea, to relation to something, and I judge people independently for who they are and not based on how somebody used it. And if there's a discrepancy and difference of how it's expressed, if they're not expressing it the same way, I'll ask what they mean by that. So he's actually witnessed me doing that. He's been in a class doing that or whatever. And I try to do that often because, you know, I just want to, like, if I have a thought about something, anybody can misperceive what somebody meant about something. And if it's not clear, I'm going to ask what they meant by that. So he perverts that in another sermon about a few weeks ago, a month ago, or a little after that or whatever, trying to put another meaning on, asking for more emphasis, and claiming these things about, I don't even know what it was said, something about, trying to, like, set you up for something, or do something, and, like, in this paranoid, like, effect or whatever. That's not what I do. I just want to make sure, like, some people just aren't clear on things, and it has nothing to do with the guy can't perceive or whatever. It's just like, I mean, if something could be expressed, and I have all these different thoughts of what they meant, and if they're not clear about it. So sometimes I express things at times where I can't express a more detailed thing or whatever. So, I mean, you asked that. I mean, I'm I'm human. I'm not going to go beyond that. I mean, they're going to sit there and say, "Oh well, the Holy Spirit is beyond that," and that's and he rants off about this. Oh, that's soulless. Or that's stuff this or whatever. Whatever. They're playing games, so um, they don't say what they mean. They give all these different things. So anyway, with his thing with his question to me, like well, I was contacting him and asking why he was doing this, and he made a statement like, "Are you accusing me of teaching psychology from behind the pulpit?" Now, I had like many different thoughts, and the thing is, he wasn't really letting me speak. He was like talking over and over. Something else just echoed that. Um, in the police department, echoing, well, like asking me all these questions in a row and like over and over and over, and wouldn't let me answer the question. And then like, oh, you can't answer. Well, he didn't do that, but I have other people who do that, and basically ask these questions. Is like, oh, okay, well, you won't answer my question. This is what they did. It was a mental abuse by the Vineland Police Department, Internal Affairs, and they basically asked me these questions and then made up my answer that I was not thinking, and refused to let me answer. And then like, oh, well, you're not answering the question. I'm like, you're not letting me. And then like refuse to let me do that. And it's basically they're trying to relate to another situation that they just made up in court that I never even did that. I just asked two questions that were of the same principle or whatever, and they're blowing it all out of proportion. So they're sitting there seeking revenge to make an excuse to make sure I don't speak, which I don't do that. So I will not play their game. I will not play these evil games that these people are playing, even to my enemies. I don't play pet games. It's just it's mind rape. I don't do it. I don't violate the good conscience, even to the most wicked. So it will violate your. It won't be a violation because violate is violation, but I will attack your bad conscience. But I hold the good conscience to be very sacred, and it's in everybody, whether it's sealed off or not. It's in everybody, and I basically consider it sacred ground. That is my own original expression of it. So I don't know anybody else who teaches that, but that's how I express what I see spiritually. So the thing is I'm gonna go on. So yeah. So anyway, so he did that, and I had these different thoughts because it was almost like my thoughts. Now, I'm not saying it was his thoughts. It doesn't matter. My thoughts are my thoughts about a situation. I can use my thoughts however I encounter a situation. So the thing is that like my whole thing is to speak against like he knows I was speaking against the Psychiatric Association. That's what he knew. He revokes things for people to speak against things. I know he does that. I'm not saying that's related to that. Um, um, but I am basically whatever's coming up and he's thrown at me. These are just my thoughts, and um, there's like I said, an expression of their false minister Tammy Vaughn, who's no longer there, who was like people were making decisions like when they're not in a place to make those decisions or whatever, and just like want to kick like something in there. Like I said, this happens in another video and another sermon or whatever. So I mean, I had several thoughts when he said that, but I didn't get a chance to even express myself. So the thing is that and my whole thing and my response, I did put it in the email, and I'm just like, okay, well, everything is of psychology, but when I speak of psychology, it's like, and I said it in a court, I'm like, I'm not into your psychology. So psychology is basically a study of the mind. I'm not against that, but their doctrines are false, of the Psychiatric Association, and a lot of them filled with manipulative, um, um, cult abuse that comes from the churches because they want to put in whatever they want and to silence, well, mainly Christians and victims. So I'm going to record this. I just wanted to say, because it's going to be near the end of the video, it's 24 minutes. When they put the emotions in here as negative, as sad or whatever, it's actually really disturbing. Like if, say, somebody basically gets injured severely in a car accident and is paralyzed and lives like is burned up or something or what have you. Okay, something really really horrible happens. Um, to it would be disturbing to brand um somebody as negative for expressing like an anger or a distress or a sadness. The whole thing is I was condemned for like just sorrow and grievances as they were destroying my family. And it's kind of like if you go to a funeral because somebody, died in some devastating way. And it's like, yeah, yeah, in a way you're supposed to have joy if somebody's going to heaven. Yes, there's a sorrow of loss. Okay. And, so even Jesus wept, when Lazarus died or what have you. So the thing is, it's just that, it's disturbing if you just walk around and smile at every horrible thing. There's something wrong with you. So I just want to let you know the Psychiatric Association is drugging up people and calling sadness, sorrow, and distress abnormal and a mental illness, and they're damaging the brain to numb the brain and damage to reactive responses because these churches are calling grievances and grieving emotions negative. So I'm going to have to do part 2, but I'm going to record this real quick.
Or some event in the world, all lies within your soul, the ability and the power of the intellect.
He was condemning the intellect.
Emotions, the instruments for our likes and dislikes. Through it we can express love or hate and feel joy, anger, sadness, and happiness. See, once you create your perception in your mind and you define something, what follows is the emotion that attaches to that. So for instance, if in your mind you created a definition about something that was pleasant, you would have pleasant emotions that follow that. But if you in your mind create a definition about someone or something that has a negative connotation, you're going to feel a negative emotion that will attach to that belief system.
So he got part of that from me as I actually corrected them because I was expressing and teaching from my own experience and insights, okay, and knowing who I am and who God created me as I am. I did not get it from any other books or anybody else or what have you. But the thing is that I went by my experiences. So, and it's like emotions are natural. So if I have an idea about something, I'm going to express it through my emotions is going to be also reacted to it, which is emotions. I call it a universal language. Okay. It's kind of like expressing, like, I mean, people who don't speak English, I can communicate with people, like, if they're grieving or unhappy or crying or something, go up to them, and express something by emotions to console that person, and we can not understand each other's, language, but, if we know somebody's in distress or something like that or whatever. So I call it the universal language, by the way, emotions. So the thing is that I expressed like grievances or what have you, and even though somebody told me a lie that was very, very devastating, it was actually when I found my children were kidnapped and they were found, of course, even through all that, but they were found and they actually told me and lied and said that my son died and got hit by a car right when I found them. And I went into a shock. I suffered a trauma. And the thing is, it was a lie. Okay? So, I was completely, I couldn't eat. I was just, it was like really, really devastating. I actually had to find my children because nobody would help me. Oh, because they were church people. Church people allowed to human traffic. That's all they basically are protected for by police. Kidnap and whatever, and it doesn't matter because they were church people. They were an abusive cult, by the way, and had foster kids through their other family members or whatever, and child sex trafficked many children through them, by the way. So, and I was silenced and made sure I wasn't heard or a witness, and they've been destroying my life ever since. The thing is, all the false doctrines of these churches and the whole system silences victims, is what they do. So, and brand them as negative. So the thing is that I was actually attacked and abused for basically speaking against abuse, and then speaking against their abuse for being abused. They actually abused me more. So because they're all brainwashed, and they're not of God, they're not of the Holy Spirit. They're brainwashed by the propaganda of a corrupt system, of a perverted, dirty system. These churches are pagan, and they're all programmed by the same abominable false doctrines. Okay, and it was created by evil false church leaders, mainly Catholic, but many other false church leaders who were abusive, pedophiles, who basically the whole system is built around silencing and destroying the victim to never be heard. So this is what the oppression that I have been living through. So the thing is, I'm going to do a part 2 because I'm cutting off is going around 31 minutes. But I'm gonna talk about the love or hate thing or whatever. Yes, I hate rapists. By the love of God, love hates evil. That is originated in me by God. Understanding there's a lot of brainwashing going on, saying that, especially by abusive people, if you speak against their abuse or whatever and they're abusing you, they're like, oh, you're full of hate. This is what they do when they're hating my goodness and truth. I speak against them, and they express their evil, and I hate their evil. Okay, so just like I hate rapists, I hate child rapists, and so does God. God hates the wicked. Period. So I'm gonna do another video for part 2, and I'm gonna be talking more on this.